What is going on, people? David Durang here, travel guy, etc., etc. I am here. Join, come and join me on this wonderful Sunday, and let's get right into it. I like to just give some information and some thought, and then just build from that. So, what I wanted to talk about today is this. So, oftentimes, when I do a lot of videos, whether it's YouTube or IG or whatever the case may be, when I'm creating content, I tend to throw out traveling a lot, and the more I do videos, the less and less I'm gonna just throw out the word traveling, because traveling just speaks to going from one place to the other, but also what I want to go deep into, basically, what you get when you travel. Like, what what does your journey or discovery, within your trip or your voyage, maybe, like, what do you get from it? So that's very important. And, like, I would suggest people, when they're traveling, try to find something that you enjoy, like some kind of thread. Every time you travel, I don't know, you might be into statues or whatever the case may be, something that you can try to seek out in each place. And for me, for example, one of those things are, besides the many things that I enjoy when I travel, is I love looking at the cars. Like, I'm a huge car person. I was introduced to cars at a very young age. My father's a mechanic. He sold cars. I used to sell cars. So from a very young age, cars have always been an interest of mine. Even to the point where, like, being born and raised in New York City, I had my, I had my, I had my permit at 16. Like, the day that I was turning 16, May 17, whatever year that was. I think I was I had to be a junior in high school. Wait, 16? Yeah, I think I was a junior or sophomore, whatever the case may be. That day, I went to go get my permit, passed, got my permit, and I wanted to drive. The next year, I was 17, I got a junior license. So typically, when you're in New York City, you're not really supposed to drive until 18. The junior license isn't really supposed to be used in New York City. It could be used in, like, Long Island and other places, but the junior license, you you needed, like, a person with a regular license to drive with you. And then also there was like a 9 o'clock curfew or something like that. Needless to say, I was always into driving cars, whatever the case may be. That was always my thing. And so you can imagine that when I travel, it's like amazing, because I'm able to see cars that we don't have in the US market. And I've been doing so for about over 10 years now, like traveling and just seeing all the French cars that we don't have here. That when I was growing up, they used to have a couple French cars, the Peugeots, the I think the Citroen. Like, there used to be French cars in this market, and then they kind of took it away. They also had, I don't think we ever had Spanish cars in this market from my when growing up. I remember Italian cars, and Italian cars started to come back with the Fiat, the Alfa Romeo, etc. So when you go out of the country and you're able to see all these vast amount of cars, it's something that I really enjoy. What else? Even if you go to Canada, they have different cars than we have. I remember, I think I think when I first started to go to Canada, I saw the A class Mercedes Benz, which I don't think we have that. And I think if the US had it, we had it for a year or two, and then they stopped selling it, because the the palate or the taste of America is quite different from other places. So, other places tend to like more smaller, fuel efficient cars, which we do too when it gets super crazy. But for the most part, America likes larger vehicles. If you go to Europe, you'll still see Yugos all over the place. Small three-cylinder cars. I think they're three-speed transmission on the floor. They look funny, but I don't think I, people. If you're older, tell me if we had that here before I was born. I was born in '86, but I never remember seeing anything like that here. So there's that so back to the thread. So cars has always been my thing. So you can imagine when I was able to go to like car heaven. I've been to Japan about 7 times. That's like a major car heaven for me. Also Germany was another place, and well, those are the top two for me. And then obviously, you I like seeing Spanish cars in Europe and Indian cars in some places, but the Japanese and the and the Japanese and the German cars are my thing. So while I was away, as always, I was in Turks and Caicos a couple of days ago. I was thinking about. I was just observing, car watching. Some people watch. I do that, but car watching, and you just see all these brands. Well, you see all these cars that we don't have, and it's the same thing that is the same pattern that I always notice. So you might see a car pass by, and in the States is an Infiniti, but over there is a Nissan, right? Same thing if you saw like the same car is like an Acura here and a Honda over there, and it's like that a lot. So it's basically like they sell us. Not only do they sell us the lower brand, but they sell us the more expensive cars too. But in other places, especially the Caribbean, you don't really have the luxury brands all the time. What I'm talking about, I'm not talking about like the German BMWs and things like that. I'm talking about the Japanese luxury brands. You'll be hard pressed to find it. Not impossible. I've seen it, but for the majority, 95% of the time, it's the lower end car. It's the parent company's car. So the Honda, the Nissan, the Toyota. Those are the cars you typically see in other places. You see those cars here in the U.S., but you also see the luxury brands. And so, kind of want to break. I kind of want to break down the psychology behind that whole system. Like, why is it that? Why is it that for the same vehicle, whether it's you see, like, take the Lexus, the small Lexus truck, the RX series. Why is it the same vehicle is in the Caribbean, but is under the Toyota Marquis? So let me just give some backstory behind that you may not know. So pretty much, when the early 80s approached, the United States, they became threatened. The big three got threatened. Your GMC, your Ford, your Chrysler. They really got threatened because, the Japanese cars were becoming really, really popular because of the design, because of the price, and because it was like very fuel efficient. Like if you remember, Japanese cars, especially from the 80s and even to the 90s, uh, even till today, a lot of them got like at least 30 miles per gallon and up. And they were very fuel efficient, very reliable vehicles that if you take care of them, they drive for a long time. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that till this day. I was at Walmart and I saw a gentleman with an old Toyota pickup yesterday, and he said and I was just commenting and making some small talk with him because I grew up with those kind of pickups, and he said, hey, if you find one, don't let it go. So that's what it is. So back in the 80s when the Japanese cars became very popular and American automakers they became very threatened. The government, the U.S. Government put a, I think it was called like a export, voluntary export. Man, I forgot the name. Restraint, I believe that's the name of it. So basically, they restricted the amount of Japanese cars we can import into the country to like 1.6 million cars. And then initially that was supposed to be for like 3 years, but then they kept extending it. But each time they extended it, they added more vehicles that that the Japanese can sell. So what happened is the Japanese automakers, starting I believe with, I think it was Acura first in 1980. It was Honda first in 1986. They saw, okay, well, it was in the works from the early 80s. So they said to themselves, they imposed this restriction that we can only sell like a certain amount of vehicles. Plus, we got to compete with the other automakers. So let's start creating luxury brands so we can sell it for more money, even though we can't sell as many cars as we want. We'll just make a luxury brand, raise the price, and we can make our profits up again. So Honda started first with Acura, and then Nissan started with Infiniti, and then who else? Who went after that? Um, I think Toyota created. Why does it lose? Oh, Toyota created Lexus. Both of those they started in '89. And something that you can remember, even in Japan, they didn't sell under those brands. I think as of 2005, Lexus just started selling under that marquee in Japan. Um, Infinity till this day does not sell under that marquee in Japan. So that's exactly what happened because the American automakers became threatened. The Japanese responded by making luxury brands to sell more and make more money. So the next time you go out the country and you're looking at the cars and you might be like, oh, that's it. You think it's an Infiniti, but it's just a Nissan. Like the body and all was the same. Even the I took a cab this week in Turks. It was just like an Acura TL body, but it wasn't. It was a Honda. And constantly, I've been seeing that for years. And I was like, man, I wonder if people really know that information, or maybe they don't even notice. But I just wanted to give an idea. So, how should we feel as Americans? As Americans, we're paying more for a name that's the same vehicle. Like literally, it's the same vehicle. It's just the badge is different. In the next video I do, I'll actually show side by side the vehicles so you won't think that there's something different. Literally, it's the same. The badge is different, and then you're just paying more. So to think how much we spend on labels, we're getting tricked. The difference between a Honda and an Acura. Maybe I'll do that. I'll get two models. I'll show you the price range, the price points, and then I'll show you just what an emblem, the plastic emblem, how much extra you're paying for it. What if you're paying like 15,000 just for a plastic emblem that costs like 50 cents? Like literally is the same car, but we're buying into the fact that it's luxury when it's the same car that's being sold in other places. So that's just some food for thought, and that's something I wanted to share with you. When I travel, I'm always looking at the cars, and I have so many videos when I go back and check of me in different places, and I stop and I look at the car and I have it on film. So it's just something I wanted to share today, and I hope you find it interesting. The next time you see a Lexus, an Infiniti, and whatever other luxury brand, just know that in other places they're selling the base model. So we're overpaying for everybody else. So that's something to think about And I just thought about that. I just got home and I was like, hey, let me